Welcome and welcome back. Day 11, 3 more relics for us to dig into, so let's do that. The first one on the list is the friendly Forager, and man, there is a lot of text out here, so let's just go through it really quick. It's gonna give you the Forager's pouch, essentially like the herb sack, but you are able to equip it if you want. Whenever you are gathering resources, be that from woodcutting, fishing, mining, hunting, all of that, it is going to store a random grimy herb, limited to herbs, your herblore level plus 25 that you can clean, while also providing a small amount of token XP when one is found. So not only is this going to give you free herbs, this is also going to give you just the tiniest bit of XP on top of that every time one is found. So you're going to passively pick up a little bit of herblore XP while those herbs are coming in, and then you're also going to be able to use those to make potions, of course. So it will only find herbs that it has room to store, which we'll talk about here in a second. It does share an inventory with the herb sack, so you can't have like the herb sack and this thing. You're not going to be able to stack both of those together. And then another huge piece for this, secondary ingredients have a 90% chance to not be consumed and it stacks with other sources being essentially Barlamore if you get the mixology rewards, but 90% chance to not be consumed is a crazy high chance to not use your secondaries. It is also going to give you 4-dose potions instead of 3-dose potions, so that's kind of like a nice quality of life thing here. Now, immediately what stands out to me is that this overlaps a ton with the Overgrown relic. That's the auto farming relic that is paired up against Grimoire, as well as a still mystery relic. We don't know that one yet. So right away, I'm thinking if you plan on taking Overgrown, then this one is probably not going to be for you because Overgrown is going to give you both herbs and secondaries. But while we're on the topic of secondaries, I want to talk a little bit about this 90% chance to not be consumed. And yes, this isn't every single secondary in the game. This is just kind of like the common ones that people generally use to train up their herblore. Plus, some of these are used in making important potions as well. So you've got like prayer potions with snape grass, super defenses, super strength, super attack, super restore, lots of super, you know? So there's a lot of different things here. And something that you may have noticed is only some of them actually come from farming. So you're probably still going to be having to gather these secondaries and other means so long as they're available in your area. So while yes, I probably wouldn't think about taking this relic if I also took Overgrown, this is still an extremely strong passive and can actually mean that you don't need to worry about farming these secondaries because you could just go and pick up a lot of this stuff off of the ground or from a boss or something like that. Now, to spend just a second talking about this idea of it's only going to give you herbs that it has room to give you. This is really cool because what it means is since it works similar to an herb sack, it's going to be able to store up to 30 of each herb. Again, assuming it's like within your herblore level, so bear that in mind. But what that means is once it's full on a particular herb, it's going to give you an herb that has space for it. So eventually you're able to force it to give you specific herbs if you wanted to like make a whole bunch of super attacks or super strengths or whatever, right? So you're able to kind of like force that choice out of this relic. And it does have a little bit of a cooldown. As long as you are gathering, it is every 9 ticks that you get an herb. So it works out to, you know, a little over 650 herbs an hour, which is actually a lot of herbs because when you think about like, you're probably going to be AFKing, you're woodcutting at some point to get that up to 99. You're probably going to be AFKing, you're fishing, getting that to 99. You're still going to have to mine whether you take the mining relic or not. So you're going to be doing that a lot as well. So between just those 3 skills, not even mentioning Hunter, you're going to have a lot of opportunity, a lot of hours to build up herbs. And again, to really send this point home, if you're taking Overgrown, I do not think this is the choice for you. I think Overgrown is going to give you plenty of value there. So if you're skipping out on the Grimoire or whatever that third choice is, and you're going for Overgrown, don't take this one. Look at the other 2. The second one that we're looking at today is the Corner Cutter. This is going to give you the Sage's Greaves, which you can wear, and it's just going to give you passive agility XP while you're running around in the world. So that is super nice. You basically just don't have to worry about training agility at all. Now, it is also going to speed up your tasks that are related to doing different laps because it's going to give you 2 completion counts whenever you do a lap, also some bonus XP on there. So again, just like speeding up your agility even more. Marks of Grace are going to spawn with 10,000 coins. Now, I anticipate that the relics in this tier are going to be pretty early, so while this isn't a lot of coins, this can help you solve that money problem for yourself. And then it is also going to give you double quantities of things like the Pyramid Top, Hollowed Marks, the Brimhaven voucher, as well as Crystal Shards. And to visualize that a little bit, with Brimhaven, you got the marks here giving you some GP. Brimhaven, it's mostly for XP. Yes, there is the reward shop. It does give herbs, but it only gives like 1 Snapdragon or 1 Toad Flax at a time. So like, yes, you can technically get herbs from it. I don't think it's a great source of them. I think it'll be really slow. Now, for the other things that they've called out, this is going to help you probably the most in Mauritania because you're getting more hallowed marks. And while that doesn't mean directly more loot while you're running the Sepulchre, you can buy the items, and one of the items is a loot roll. It's this like loot sack here. So this is going to give you a lot of prayer potions, sandfew serums, GP from alkables, from ruins, as well as Ranar seeds and grimy Ranars. So I do think that this is starting to become like a meaningful source of those supplies. It's not like a ton of stuff, so I still don't super love this, but it does do something for you in Mauritania. Of course, you also have, you know, like the double pyramid tops. That's just going to be in more GP if you're in the desert. Taranwin, you get more crystals. I don't think that's a big deal. You're already going to get a lot of those anyway. It is going to help you in, again, in completing lap tasks, but also since you're going to be doing more agility, you're going to be able to get the graceful outfit, which will probably be a task if you take Asgarnia. So just, again, keeping that in mind, it will help with those agility tasks, kind of shortening that for you. The one wild card out here is the wilderness, and they haven't said exactly how it's going to interact with the wilderness. I don't expect that you're going to get double loot out of the wilderness, but because you are going to get an extra lap completion every time you run a lap, I'm expecting it will get you closer to the max tier of loot from the wilderness course. So it speeds it up a hair, but the wilderness agility course is already really strong, so I don't know how beneficial it really is for this course specifically. Now, the last relic of the bunch is Dodgy Deals. This is the Thieving Relic. Personally, I think this one's going to be the most fun. It is going to allow you to pickpocket NPCs in an 11 by 11 square, granting you all of that extra loot from pickpocketing everything just all at once. That is going to be cool. I've got a couple of examples that we can look at just so you can kind of picture how large that area is. So we'll get to that in a second. You are going to have a 100% success rate on all thieving checks. So this isn't just pickpocketing. This is going to be stalls, chests, random like other things that you have to lockpick normally to get through. There's probably like some doors and things like that. So actually quite good. It's a little hard to say for sure how many different thieving checks there are in the game. So if you know of some like really niche ones that I don't end up talking about, definitely let us know in the comments. Besides that though, you are gonna automatically repocket any NPCs or stalls until your inventory is full or you hit the max count for coin pouches. So that's really nice. You do have to be a little bit careful if you're trying to do this AFK because an 11 by 11 square is pretty large, and I think a lot of NPCs you're going to end up pickpocketing more than one at once. So it's actually likely going to make it less AFK than you might think, unless you can kind of section an NPC off to the side. Items that you pickpocket are going to be noted. That's a plus. You get more space for coin pouches, so again, that's kind of like increasing your AFK time if you can move those NPCs off to the sides and not around other similar types. And then stalls will not deplete when you steal from them, so that is also really helpful. Now, in terms of the 11 by 11 square, you can see here I've got the Varrock square where those guards are that they showed in the video, so you're probably going to end up getting like 3, 4, maybe even up to 5 of them wandering around in here, so that's pretty cool. If you're in Mauritania, you can see how big this is in one of the buyer houses here, so you're able to get at least 2 NPCs in this particular picture, though I imagine that there are some places in the city where you're able to get maybe like 3 or 4 buyers together, which is going to mean you're getting a lot of loot, a lot of blood shards all at once. And then, of course, you've got the ham hideout. This one's going to be pretty wild. I think there's a ton of ham members walking around, so like you're probably pickpocketing like 10 NPCs at once. So this is a really cool passive. A couple things I did want to call out. It's not going to affect the XP that you're getting, so you only get 1 instance of XP from the NPC you're pickpocketing, not from like all 10 of them in your square. You just get the loot from the 10 of them in your square. And you also don't need line of sight. So like in this Mauritania one up here, yes, you can pickpocket someone in this room and also get loot from another NPC in this room. Now, because pickpocketing is so strong on this relic, I wanted to call out a couple different NPCs that you can kind of pay attention to if you end up going this relic. Now, in the starting areas, obviously you've got the ham members. I showed that example. They're really good for clues. You can pickpocket a ton of them. I don't think it's gonna be AFK, but you are gonna build up clues extremely quickly because you're pickpocketing so many ham members at once. You will also have access to pickpocketing the Hussars once you get the fire cape. Now, bear in mind that you are gonna take damage whenever you pickpocket these guys. So if you don't have ice gloves, it's definitely not AFK at that point. You can still use things like a redemption prayer or just bring food with you to keep your health up, but just be a little bit careful with that, especially because if you end up pickpocketing multiple of these at once, I don't know if it's going to do multiple damage ticks, but if it does, that can become really scary really quickly. But these guys are super good for all gems up to diamond, since they're all going to be noted. They don't give a lot of other stuff, so you can end up pickpocketing these for quite a long time without having to worry about it. If you have ice gloves, otherwise you kind of have to watch because you are going to take a lot of damage pretty quickly from them. Barlamore, you have the citizens. Now, yes, they do have sort of like this relic inbuilt to them where every once in a while you're able to AFK pickpocket them. But I do want to call out that because there are several of these guys walking around in the same square, you're going to be able to pickpocket quite a few, and they are another source of easy clues. So while yes, you don't get quite as much value because there are opportunities to get 100% AFK pickpockets from them, it's still going to be good there. So I wouldn't necessarily discount Barlamore for this relic. Next up, we have all of these high-level NPCs in Kandrin. This is legitimately Kandrin W today, all right? This isn't even all of the high-level NPCs in the area. I just grabbed ones that I thought were kind of interesting drop tables. You get some clues from them. Kandrin is going to be like the capital of AFK clue farming if you take this relic, because you get things like the heroes, the paladins, the gnomes. They all have chances to drop these different clue scrolls, as well as some other stuff. So like getting herbs, getting runes, getting gold ore for smithing, getting some crafting supplies, being the enchanted fire orbs that you can put on battle staves. So I really, really like Kandrin if you end up taking this relic, not to mention the fact that the Kandrin diary also has the thing that increases the coin pouches, so you're going to get a little bit more AFK out of that if you're able to do that diary. And then, of course, you've got Mauritania. I already gave that example earlier, getting blood shards, getting some crafting supplies, getting runes, and then Taranwin as well, the Elven city, going to be really good for crystal shards because you're going to get these teleportation crystals that you can turn into shards. Also getting smithing XP, also getting crafting XP. So again, high-level NPCs, because you can't fail, it's going to be really, really strong. Bonus points if you take Asgarnia, because you're able to get the thieving outfit, double that loot. That's going to be really good. Plus, there's all of the other NPCs out there that you can pickpocket, things like master farmers for seeds. So there is just a ton of stuff that you can do with this. And that isn't even talking about the stalls. Now, there are a lot of stalls in the game. Most of them aren't like that good. You can do things like there are crafting stalls that give you silver ore, silver bars. There's fish stalls in like Fremnik where you can get raw food if you want to use that for cooking. The problem is the loot from these stalls are not going to be noted, so you're not able to like super AFK this. But if you have Banker's Note or Last Recall, you're able to, pretty quickly clear out your inventory and then come back and do more. So like, yeah, it is good. But I think out of all of the stalls, the gem stalls in these areas here, so Kandrin, Taranwin, Karend, Barlamore, and the Fremnik region, all of these have a gem stall. So you're going to be able to get some pretty good use out of this if you want to get some crafting supplies, maybe before you have access to the Hussars. So that is going to be a good use here. And then also in the starting areas, again, in the Hussar city, you have to get your fire cape to get access to these, but there is a gem stall which can give you onyxes. Super rare. It gives both a cut and an uncut at a 1 in 75k rate and a 1 in 50k rate. So like, yeah, the chances of you getting that is going to be super tiny. But since you can't fail and the stalls won't empty out, like you can probably get to that. Like, I don't think it's that crazy. There is also an ore stall that you can steal from. It's going to give you up to runite ore. So that is pretty cool there. Kind of helps solve smithing a little bit for you. But again, all of the stuff here isn't noted, so you can't be like fully AFK with it, a little bit of a downside. And a few other things to keep in mind with stalls. Non-thieving people, they can cause the stalls to reset, and stalls will not have faster respawn timers. The mods have already confirmed this. So yes, early on, the low-level stalls, probably not the way that you want to go. You're probably pickpocketing anyway, but at least in the first couple of days, if you're one of the earlier people to these stalls, it's probably because you took the thieving relic. So I don't think that this will really be that much of an issue. And even into the later game, people who don't take the thieving relics probably aren't going to want to use stalls for the most part, outside of maybe like some tasks associated to like stealing from one of them. So I think for the most part, you'll be pretty safe, but there is that risk that someone without the thieving relic could come around and just take one of these out, and then you're stuck kind of waiting for a couple of minutes or needing to hop. Something else that I think is really cool about the thieving relic, because you can't fail any thieving checks, that means that the Soul Wars Isle chest, which is this one here on the left, suddenly becomes really good, because if you've never thieved from this chest before, you can essentially like spam click it. It takes, 5-6 seconds to open the chest, get the loot, it resets. And normally this is really a pain in the butt, because if you fail, there's a chance that it teleports you outside of the dungeon, and then you're having to run all the way back. So it makes it really slow. But because you're not able to fail, you could just pickpocket this thing nonstop until you get some dark keys. And if you didn't know, dark keys open the dark chest, which is the one here on the right. And look at the supplies that the dark chest can give you. You've got dragon equipment, so that's good for GP, can be good to help you kind of bolster some of your early equipment, get those defenses up. It also gives quite a lot of herbs. It gives tanned dragon hide as well, so you don't even need a tanner in order to like make that armor if you want. Plus, it's also giving you dragon bones along with other things as well. So you can get a lot of value out of this because, again, since you can't fail this, it's not going to teleport you out, which is kind of how this thing has been balanced. So I think you're going to be able to sit here for quite a while and get yourself a decent number of dark keys and have this really good loot table over here on the right from the dark chest pretty early into the game. So I super like this specific use case for that thieving relic. Once you get into the later game, you're probably going to want to focus on like pickpocketing. But especially in the early game, this can be a great boost for you. So one thing that I do want to say about the Thieving Relic, yes, certain areas are going to benefit more from it. So to kind of like condense down all of this, Kandarin, Taranwin, Mauritania, they definitely get a lot of value out of this because of the availability of pickpocketing high-level NPCs. I think especially Kandarin, big Kandarin W, if you want to go clue hunting, this relic plus Kandarin plus the clue teleport, it's going to be actually like quite massive for Kandarin. But if you want to spend a lot of time thieving at any of the stalls or maybe any other, like the chests that I mentioned or some other random thieving checks that you've come across, then I would probably want to pair it with Banknote personally. It's going to make it a little bit more chill. You're going to be able to note all of the loot that you get from, say, like a gem stall or the ore stall without having to go back to a bank. It's not that much worse than doing last recall because you could save your spot, teleport to a bank, and come back. But it is going to make it more chill if you have Banknote, so wanted to throw that consideration out there. Now, between all three of these together, you can see here, I made the agility one little. I don't think that there is a lot of good use cases for the agility one. If you are taking Overgrown and you are going Barlamore, so you already kind of get that passive thieving from the wealthy citizens, then I get it. Take the agility one. You don't have to feel bad about it. I totally understand. If you super hate agility and you want to take this, I also get it. But outside of those things, these other two, I think they have way more power behind them. The thieving one is going to solve multiple skills for you, and it is also going to solve your money problem. I didn't even put up all of the like different NPCs that you can pickpocket, like bandits in the desert that are going to give you a ton of GP. So you're going to have like no GP problems over here. Oh, you don't fail pyramid plunder checks either, so it's going to make that minigame amazing in the desert. Okay, anyway, that's like random little example, but the thieving one, I think there's a lot that it's going to help you with. But the challenge is if you don't have the Overgrown relic, which again is competing with the Grimoire. So there's a good chance that you aren't going to have it, because I know a lot of people are looking towards that Grimoire to kind of solve some problems for them, like unlocking all those prayers and those spell books without needing the related regions. It is really good. So Herblore is quite a pain in the butt to try and train. You do get herbs from drops, so eventually you will build up enough of a stack, but that's not going to happen until like way later into the game. And a lot of stuff that drops herbs, it drops them in small amounts and infrequently. So it's going to take you a ton of boss grinding, I think, to build up enough herbs to meaningfully get to like 99. or even the higher XP milestones. So this one becomes an extremely powerful one to solve Herblore, even if you take Barlamore, because you can use those herbs in mixology as well. You can turn those points into both the rewards, which are probably going to be tasks, but you can also buy potion packs just to get more potions available to you. So I think it's a tough choice between these two. And I've been flip-flopping back and forth, so I wish I could give you like more consideration for these. I think it's easy choice on thieving if you take overgrown. Otherwise, kind of a difficult choice. It's going to depend what you want to do, what skill you hate. If you can put up with farming runs, then yeah, maybe you go the thieving one. But I don't know, dude. It's a tough one between these two. In terms of where I think the relics are going to fall, this does kind of mess me up a little bit because you don't want to see Golden God getting pushed farther back. Golden God as a relic is going to get weaker the farther up this tree it goes. So that's a little bit unfortunate. My guess is these have to come in super early. So I'm thinking we get the tier 1 choice for free right when we log into leagues. This is going to be like our first unlock would be these 3 relics we saw today, and then we get teleportation relics, and then so on, right? So this is where I'm putting these things right now. We'll see. I don't have as much confidence today as I have previously, just because this is starting to feel like a lot of relics, and I'm a little bit concerned with how they're going to end up ordering these things, but we'll just have to see. We still have a couple more reveals left. And in terms of the tier list, while most of it's not going to change, I want you to watch the bottom of the chart here. Yes, Kandarin is no longer its own tier. I think it has gotten a little bit of value today. It is moved back into D tier. There you go, Kandarin. Just that tiny little boost for you, and it does make me hopeful. They might still save Kandarin yet. We may see it move up this tier list. We'll just have to see. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more Leagues content. I've got my Discord linked in the description down below if you want to join that. And I will be streaming the start of the league. It is going to start November 27th at 6 a.m. Central Time. I'm going to be starting my stream at 9 a.m. Central, so a couple hours after. If you want to join me on my League's journey, hang out, have some fun, then I'll be doing that here. And with that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you tomorrow.